What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Double Tigers. It's a special episode. We're actually introducing you to somebody new to to the community. So, let me pop in Otaku real quick before I do anything. What's going on? And Otaku actually introduced me to this gentleman and the channel. And if Otaku wants to, he can introduce him.
Yeah, he's I believe he's relatively new to YouTube, but he's amassed quite a following and well deserved because he's so knowledgeable about comic books. You can just tell he's been a collector
Right.
for a very long time. So just really excited to connect with him on this show. We haven't heard too much. We're talking a little bit backstage, but a lot of the
Right.
our engagement this is the first time we've really been engaged with
Right.
him. So just really excited to get to know him and connect. Yeah.
Yep. And it's Raph comic or Raph's
You're
channel.
introducing from Raph's Retro Comics. How you doing?
Hi, all.
Yeah.
Thanks for inviting. Appreciate it.
Trust me, I try to practice the name all week, and I've been getting tongue-tied every time.
A lot of people call me Ralph.
Yeah.
Raph is actually short for Raphael, but
Okay.
nobody actually calls me Raphael. Everybody just calls me Raph.
Yeah, it's a
Raph.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle.
Yeah.
What's going
So,
on, G?
What's up, G-Man?
Yeah. So
Raph, you're up there in Canada. Can you just just tell us a little bit about yourself and
Sure.
where you're from?
So I was born in Canada. My parents immigrated early 70s. So I was born here. I've been a collector for 40 plus years. I can't believe it's been that long. My first comic book I got as a party favor from a neighbor's birthday party, and I did bring it. And this is all that's left of it, which is just the cover. I don't know what happened to the rest of it. The funny thing with this is I only had the first issue for the longest time, and it took me probably a couple years before I actually ended up getting issue number 2 and 3, because it was a 3-issue limited series, and so it kind of drove me crazy because with a lot of the comic books, the Marvel comic books from the 80s or even in the 70s, they were often had a longer story arc, so it drove me crazy. But I couldn't have asked for a better comic book because it has every single Marvel superhero in it, and it's also a lot of fun as well too, because they go head to head and they fight each other. And I mean it's funny because they screwed up the ending, but because apparently they can't count in terms of the final score, but it got me hooked right away. And it was hard finding comic books because in the early 80s, I wasn't aware of any comic book stores, so you go to your newsstand, your convenience store, and look on the magazine rack. So I remember that. I remember the Hawkeye miniseries. I don't know if you guys know that. It was 4 issues. That was probably the first complete.
Yeah, Hawkeye the Soul Avengers. You're talking about that one?
No, it was before that. It's got the first issue's got a white cover with Mockingbird kind of in the corner, but
yeah, I think I remember it.
Yeah, it's okay, but certainly really nostalgic for me.
What's up, Loke?
But yeah, thanks for inviting me. This is actually my first live stream, so you guys are breaking my cherry here.
Yeah.
And it's I've only been on YouTube since I think I started April of last year.
Okay.
And I've been wanting to do it for a while, but it took me a while to kind of
figure stuff out. We all do it.
Yeah. Get my room kind of in a state that I felt was good enough to have like a backdrop, as well as just get my head around what exactly I wanted to do. And so I'm sorry if I'm like monopolizing the entire conversation here,
No, no,
but
no.
Nah,
like,
it's the whole point is to get to know you anyway. So
okay, I don't have a particular like focus in terms of collecting. Like I grew up as a Marvel guy, and
right,
then like once you find out like there's all this other like great stuff out there, like I moved into DC, and then there's a period of time where like independents were huge, like 80, 84, 85 maybe. I don't know if you guys remember like titles like Elf Lord and Samurai. Well, like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was the first big one,
Yeah,
but there was so much, like the market was just flooded with all this stuff, and a lot of it was just bad. But I remember getting hooked into all of that, and then that like literally went away after like a year or two. Then I started like reading like more like DC stuff. I was a huge fan of Alan Moore's Swamp Thing. And then he moved on to like bigger stuff like Watchmen, Frank Miller, like his Daredevil run, and he did like Dark Knight Returns. So I was lucky because a lot of people would say that that was like one of the best eras of comic books like to read, and I was right there, right
yeah,
there. Yeah.
yeah. I was having this conversation, and when I watched your video on, you did a great uh, sort of look back at Batman books from that
Oh
dark,
yeah.
yeah, Dark
Best
Knight,
4 years of Batman, man.
right?
Yeah.
Um, but it's like comic books got really dark, like right around that late '80s period.
Yeah. Like
Yeah,
I think like Alan Moore was saying that he kind of regrets like Watchmen being so successful because comic books really went to the dark side.
yeah,
Like they were really, and it's kind of, it's good that they kind of explored. They were pushing boundaries, but it went a bit. It probably went a bit too much because like, hey, like, I don't know. I really like superhero comic books,
yeah,
and like
yeah.
they're generally pretty positive. Um, but there was a lot of like darker, like, yeah, it went to the superheroes as well too, but other stuff as well.
I think it spoke to more of the demographic because you had a lot of people who were into comic books as kids, and they just grew up with them, and now they were adults,
yeah,
and
the
you just
books were
kind of
growing
had
up
to hook
with you
them.
guys, pretty
Yeah,
much.
Yeah,
you had to hook them with something more compelling than like um, what you read like in the early copper and bronze, late
yeah.
bronze age. So yeah,
I mean, like some of the indie titles were doing that. I don't know if you remember this title called Elementals by Bill Willingham,
hmm
but if you read like some of those early issues, they were pretty like brutal. Like they weren't comics for kids
yeah,
for sure. Um, and as well as like some of the other independent titles because like they didn't have to go with the Comics Code Authority or whatever. They can just publish whatever they want. And I know like stores got into trouble for some of the stuff that they were selling because parents would complain like, hey, my kid brought this home and like, what the hell are you selling? Like this really like stuff that's not for kids for sure.
Yeah, well, yeah,
Yeah.
can't be any worse like Batman Damned when Batman Damned came out. Yeah,
Oh
so it's the same. Yeah, but
yeah.
it happens. It happens again
yeah.
in
Well,
cycles.
like
That's all it
I
is.
remember
Yeah.
in like the mid '90s after Image launched, and you just had all these like independent companies, and like you said, it was just no longer being targeted at like youth. It was essentially targeted at adults. There were a lot of you know, kind of like sexualized sort of comics out there. Uh,
Oh yeah, yeah. Everything had big boobs, man.
right, right. Jeff's that's when
Like
Jeff got into the books.
Well, yeah. Well, it was what was it? It was Gen 13, Tomb
Lady Death.
Raider,
Yeah, I remember Lady
Lady
Death.
Death. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
she, the
Yeah, and then it was all well, it was golden age time, it was good girl art, and then
yeah,
at that time it was called bad girl art
yeah,
because
yeah.
yeah,
they
yeah.
were, yeah, so it
I
was,
remember Adam Hughes and Ghost.
yeah.
Ghost. Yeah,
That was a great book.
yeah.
I love the art in
Oh,
that, and that's
well, Brian got a question.
Oh, Marvel swimsuit spectacular.
of
Oh
course,
yeah.
of
Oh
course.
man, She-Hulk. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish I had that because that would like I remember that when I'm like when they published that I'm like, oh my god, what are they putting on the stands? And like I'm sure you could find it pretty easily, but
Hmm.
it's that's like a super funny like a fun book to look back
Yeah,
at now.
it
And that was the
carried the
time like
whole
everybody
genre.
bought Wizard like and
Hmm.
the the spec craze at that time.
That was before, it was before internet, and they still
Oh
had
man.
spec back then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was I could tell you some stories, guys. Like so there was that period of time where you know all the big publishers were coming out with all these like foil covers and stuff like that. And so I was really close with the owner of my comic book store that I used to go to. And this was a time when there were multiple distributors. So
Hmm.
uh, if something sold out, like my friend, he had accounts with like different distributors, and there were even multiple distributors in the Toronto area. So he can just drive there and get them. But because like everybody was specking, everybody was buying like dozens of copies of everything. Like this is when Valiant was hot, and uh, the distributors would sell the stuff at 90% off cover because
Wow, yeah,
because you know they just over ordered so much stuff. So stuff like X Force One, X-Men One, like even stuff like Spider-Man 2099 number
right.
one, like 90% off cover. So,
Yeah.
but the problem was it's like everybody had it, right? So it's not like they were literally worthless. And
Hmm.
most of the stuff from back then is worthless. But
Yeah,
I just remember going to the warehouse and like my jaw just dropped because you can just buy cases of this stuff for like
Yep.
15-20 cents. So
Well, at least it's better over there because over here, well, the thing is that if you guys heard the news, Diamond's going out of business.
yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah.
So like I mean, it was good back then, and when there were multiple distributors, when
Right.
stores, um, you just had to order from one distributor instead of having to order from like four. So my friend
We
finally
different ones.
closed.
Yeah.
Yeah, my friend closed his store down this past year just because
Mm.
it's worse for Canadian retailers because the amount you have to pay for shipping now is just
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Astronomical. Yep.
Yeah.
yeah,
So his his profit margins were down to like 10%. So if you order 10 copies of a book, you got to sell 9 of them to break even. And that's impossible. That's impossible.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
he was just bleeding money every month. And I was like, it's
That's
too
too
bad.
bad.
It's too bad.
Because that's even over here. It's even shipping's pretty weird. It's I'm like you. I'm close to my LCS guy too, and it's ship. You know what I mean? Diamond shipping is not the greatest
Yeah.
because he's found cigarettes, a pack of cigarettes, and it's like he's found all kinds. It's like,
Wow.
yeah.
That's
So
crazy. So yeah, I don't know what they can do. Like it's a for it's a tough situation. What is it?
Well, they can't do much because the amount of money they owe to all these other people, all these other companies
Yeah.
is ridiculous. I read the article, so it's ridiculous of the amount of money. I'm like, I go, why would you let them go to that amount of like there was one that said billions. I'm like, how would you let them go
Oh
to a
man.
billion, a billion to owe you that much money, and
Yeah.
then you're
So I don't know. I keep on thinking that trying to be hopeful, but it's like
yeah.
it's not good news.
I
Not
mean,
good
what
news.
it's gonna look like? It looks like if they do, I mean, they already going bankrupt, but like people were saying, maybe Amazon's gonna end up buying, them, that's gonna be even it'd be interesting to see if they
Yeah.
do, how they're gonna end up doing it, or how, because Amazons are all over, so it's
Yeah.
like
Uh, that actually makes good sense, but um, because they actually Amazon actually has their whatever their delivery infrastructure
right,
like set up well.
right,
Like, uh, but
Yeah.
it's like, do they even care? Like, does Amazon care
right.
about doing something like this? They'd
But
be
my biggest thing is, if they do get it, are we gonna lose LCSs from that?
oh
That's the biggest
yeah,
part. Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
I still think there's something about, like, I know a lot of people can get the subscriptions and delivered it to their door still, like in terms of comics, but
oh
there's just something about going to the LCS that is part of the hobby. I mean, if you're a collector, right?
yeah,
There's a difference between like getting stuff off of eBay and actually going to the LCS, digging, and
right.
that
yeah,
whole process. So I don't think, I mean,
I mean, we won't lose LCSs, but I think the LCSs are gonna be more back issues than
yeah,
from
you got to
if
have, yeah,
Amazon
you
yeah,
got to
did.
have a diversified sort of
yeah,
business model,
Right,
or it's
right.
not going to work, right?
yeah. There were a couple good comments, like $4 or $5 for a new floppy. Like
Yeah,
That's
it's
tough.
and
That is
then the
tough.
Lady
yeah,
Devs go up to at least 6. The
yeah,
new Lady Dev stuff goes, because it's it's considered a graphic novel, because it's not a staple. It's actually a square
yeah.
bound. So
And so like it's I you know I don't know how like people can afford to do it, especially if you go to like an LCS and like there's boxes and boxes of dollar bin stuff and
right,
like good reading stuff in those dollar bin stuff.
Right.
And so I think as far as like that kind of stuff, we're still in pretty good shape. Um, I also saw another comment. Somebody mentioned the Beguiling. That's like a store that's been in Toronto for as long as I can remember, and they thankfully they used to be in this one kind of area called Mervish Village, but that area got completely torn down, and there's like condos there now. But they have like a store in College, and
oh yeah,
it's
Loke.
still like a really good store. Like probably the best store for like independent and other weird stuff.
Yeah.
But like an amazing store. Like and then like a huge store. They have like so much stuff. But definitely like if you want to check out a comic book store in Toronto, that would probably be my first choice.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, just look it up. Yeah.
No, I mean, it sounds like it's like an actual like comic book, like, just it's not just doing the Marvel DC stuff, but it's actual real collector, probably just, yeah, maybe.
Yeah, and they organize like it's called TCAF, which is kind of like um I haven't been to it in a long time, but it was like an outdoor comic festival, and it
Oh,
was mostly focuses more on like indie publishers and alternative comic books, like small
nice.
press stuff.
Yeah.
So
They'd have the artists and creators come in and do signings.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, but like really small press guys, like
Right.
and a lot of local people, which is really good.
That's awesome. Yeah. Look, you guys should look each other up. You guys are neighbors there.
Yeah. He's looks
So,
the
so Raph,
Canadian artist. So
Raph, I know you said you collect a little bit of everything, but you still have to have, I guess, like some preferences, some favorites. What do you tend to like if you go, or maybe what's on your like currently on your want list, or what are you looking to pick up still?
So mostly Bronze Age, Silver Age stuff, but I
Hmm.
don't like. There's like a lot of like smaller runs that I particularly like the smaller runs, um, but I don't have like a particular focus. Like one title I started collecting and is Blackhawk, uh,
Hmm.
and the reason why I started collecting it was just because I was able to get like a really big run for really cheap, like
Okay,
like dirt cheap, like
yeah,
going back to some of the quality issues from the
this
50s,
is Silver Age Blackhawk,
silver and gold.
Silver and Gold.
So
Wow,
there were a handful of golden
Wow.
age issues, but most of them were pretty beat up. But like some of them I bought for $4 or $5 each, like the silver age issues. So so I took pity on that collection because it's funny. It was at a store that I go to quite a bit, and I ask, "Oh, what'd you get in recently?" And he goes, "Well, we got to run into Blackhawk," and I go like, "Yeah," and he goes, "Yeah, but they're cheap." And so I looked at them, and it's like, and apparently it was like the guy's dad's collection, right? And so it's like he spent all these years putting this run of Blackhawk together,
wow,
and so I said, okay, I'll take them. I didn't buy the coverless issues though. He had a lot of the coverless issues, and you know what? I probably should have bought them, but especially some of the golden age ones. But and like if I go to sales, I'll look for the ones that I'm missing. Um,
nice.
and they're generally like nobody's looking for this title. I remember I was talking to my comic book friends, and I said, "Hey guys, I'm collecting a new title, right?" And they go, "What?" And like, think of the absolute worst DC Silver Age title that you can collect that lasted more than 30 issues. And like one of the guys go, "What? Are you collecting Blackhawk?" I'm going, "Yeah." So it's like, yeah, the worst DC Silver Age title, excluding maybe some of the other like war titles like Our Army, Our Fighting Forces or whatever. But Blackhawk is like it's there. But you know what? Like they did a run in the 80s, like
Yeah,
Mark Evanier and Dan Spiegel, and it's a really good run. The 80s run when they revived it, I think it was like 20 some odd issues. It's actually really good. So the 60 stuff is garbage, but the 80 stuff is pretty good. Uh, and I'm like kind of like a buyer of opportunity. Like if I see something that just kind of catches my eye, then I'll buy it. And I'm a cheap collector. Like I just I like buying cheap stuff.
yeah,
But I gotta kind of like scale back a bit just because, you know, I'm sure you guys run into this problem as well too. It's like you only have so much space, and like my reading pile is like ginormous. I don't have enough time. And so like I'm trying to be a little more careful about
yeah,
some of the stuff that I
Hmm.
buy. But like, if I go to a sale and they have like boxes of like dollar bin stuff,
right,
it's really hard to resist. Really
right.
hard
I
to
know,
resist.
I know what you mean,
So
man.
that's why, like Jeff, like, you showed this on one
Yeah.
of your past videos,
Yeah, the Fem Force.
the
Yeah.
Femforce. I'll pick up stuff like this. I think this
Yeah.
stuff is great. It's
Yeah.
hilarious. And and for like $1,
Yeah.
sure,
Can't
absolutely.
beat it.
Absolutely. So that's my one kryptonite, my one weakness. I
Dollar
just
bins.
like good dollar bins. You
Yeah.
know, good dollar bins. That kind of stuff is hard to pass up on.
Mm.
Yeah, did you prepare some books from your collection to show off?
Yeah, yeah. So like like we talked, and I know that you guys do like your spec recommendations and a flex. So um, for spec, I don't spec so much. You know, you can only have like I guess before when I used to like buy a lot more stuff. Like my collection is like maybe a third of what it used to be. Like I after you get married, a lot of stuff's got to go. So
Yeah.
you know, so I try not to buy too much stuff. But um, these days, crypto is kind of hot. So
Yeah.
I recently picked up this Adventure
Oh, that's a nice one.
364,
Yeah.
and it's like a Super Pets issue.
Uh-huh.
But you know, I want to say like if you can like handle like long term, like DC Silver Age just seems to be cheap.
It's so cheap.
Like
Right
so,
now.
yeah. Well, it's been cheap for a while, and
Yeah, but as soon as that Superman movie or any of that DC stuff from Gunn actually see what Gunn does,
yeah,
that stuff's probably gonna end up going up, maybe.
yeah. So
So
I want to say if you can buy like the Superman titles in fine condition, like 6.0 or better, like now is such a good time to buy stuff. So like Superman Action, uh, not so much the Superboy or World's Finest, but Superman Action, Adventure Legion issues, that kind of stuff. But I just find like DC Silver Age in general, like first of all, it's harder to find in nice shape, like nice solid fine or above. Um, but when you do come across it, it just feels like it's cheap,
Yeah.
especially compared to Marvel Silver Age.
Yeah.
And like, so if you can buy, if I come across like decent DC Silver Age that's presentable, a nice 6.0 or above, then yeah. The thing is, like, low grade copies of DC Silver Age stuff is everywhere, and it's cheap, and I'm glad it's cheap because people could buy that stuff for literally nothing.
Yeah.
But if I think where there's good value is like anything 6.0.
Right.
If once you get to the really high grades, well, they're almost impossible to locate, but those are actually kind of
Yeah,
pricey.
and I think you kind of have to be lucky with that because um, for a lot of collectors, that's already like priced out, and it's worth a lot of money.
Mhm.
But if you, like you said, if you're fortunate enough to kind of be in the bins and you find a copy and it's like, wow, it's really decent grade, then you've actually uh, done well for yourself. But yeah, in terms of the higher grade Silver Age, it doesn't matter if it's Marvel or DC. It's like that's going to be highly coveted and worth a
Yeah,
lot of money.
yeah. But yeah, Superman Action, like Superman titles, with the exception of like Jimmy Olsen or Lois. Well, you know what? People do collect Lois Lane, but Jimmy Olsen just seems to be like. Well, I guess the Kirby issues are okay, um, but yeah, those. This is one store I go to. They've had like these Silver Age Jimmy Olsens for decades, to the point where the bags are just disgusting. It's the worst because you thumbing through that and your fingers just get all yucky, and it's like,
it's
oh
sticky.
man,
That's the worst. When
yeah,
you go
and
digging through them and your hands are you go why are my
yeah,
hands sticky?
they haven't been rebagged like in 20 years, and like
Right.
even when they have like their 50% off sale, it's like I still can't even bring myself to buy like low grade Jimmy Olsen's for like $3-4. Just yeah.
Do you
Uh,
do you buy slabbed books?
so not that often, like rarely, but I will slab books. I will. Um, I find there's better value doing that if you can buy books raw,
Yeah.
but I I have pretty specific rules about slabbing books. Like they they have to meet a certain threshold of value. Um, like I won't slab books just to present them or anything like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And
What have you slabbed recently?
oh, it's been a while. It's been over a year. But I think I submitted about 25 modern books
Mm.
about more than a year ago.
Modern books. Okay.
Um,
Big
yeah,
keys.
uh, there was a Star Wars one in there, like some like Burn
That's a big
X-Men.
one. Yeah. Star Wars one. What
Yeah,
grade did you get?
I got a 9.6 on that.
Whoa.
Yeah, and it's
That's big money.
I traded it away um, for some like some golden age romance books, along
Well,
with some other
Oh,
stuff.
really? Okay.
Yeah, yeah, um, along with some other stuff
yeah,
that I
but as
had.
long as you didn't have no attachment to the book, I don't see nothing wrong with trading for something you wanted anyway.
Yeah,
So,
and actually, I already I have another copy as well too. That's
Wait. So,
nice.
what golden age romance book did you trade it for? Was it
A bunch of them, like a bunch of Lev Gleason and Harvey. It was
hmm,
it was a few slabs and a bunch of miscellaneous stuff for like maybe I want to say like 25 golden age
okay?
romance books.
Okay.
okay,
Um, so uh, golden age romance is really hard to put a price on.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Really hard to put a price on because you don't see it that often.
You don't see it.
hmm
Yeah.
And the
and the
thing with
artist, depending on the
But
artist too,
it's
on
also like it's so niche though. You know what I mean? It's like
yeah,
it's hard to find buyers for that.
it
Even
is.
like I guess it's yeah. I guess not in certain circles, but yeah.
But it's really hard to peg any kind of dollar value on golden age romance. If it's got like Matt Baker art, Jack
Mhm.
Heyman like covers, like really good covers, then yeah, they're super
Yep,
expensive. But run of the mill stuff, like they're not. Like you talk to dealers, you need crazy people like me who are interested like in golden age romance to buy that stuff. So they're not like what you would call like hotcakes. They don't sell like hotcakes
Yeah.
unless it's like Matt Baker or Cayman
Right.
or like a really
Yeah.
really good girl art. But let's see, what else did I have? That I had like a Miss Marvel one. I had a Howard the
Mm.
Duck one, and so this is stuff. And like for me to send stuff down to CGC, it has to be worthwhile. So like I'll hold on to like 25 books to
hmm
to get a maximum submission because it costs so much money to ship and then so much money to ship back. And yeah, like so I also try to get the discount as well too,
right.
but um, I didn't renew my membership, or actually I used to send it. I used to send it through like uh, my friend's comic book store. I thought about getting a membership this year, but it's like even though I have some books that I probably should get slapped, I there's just no urgency for me to do it.
Right.
And as you're probably aware, CGC has just had all kinds of issues the past.
Yeah. Yep.
I don't know how many years now, and still people use them. But but they are like the the grading standard, or
Yeah. End all be all, pretty much of the grading,
yeah,
Yeah.
grading comic books in
yeah,
general. So
yeah. So it should be interesting to see what PSA brings to the table.
right.
Um, I mean, I get it. A lot of comic book collectors really don't like slab books, and I totally respect that. But if you're talking about high end, expensive books, like if I were to buy like you know a military comics #1,
Yeah.
that's I would like to get. I would like to know that it hasn't had restoration done.
hmm
Um, I would like to know that everything's there.
hmm
The thing with like especially with golden age books, um, yeah, like you don't always know what the page count is, because page count is like all over the place, and like restoration detection, unless you've looked at a lot of golden age books, and even though I've looked at a lot of golden age books, I still wouldn't be able to tell like really
Yeah, and
good
then
professional restoration.
what was it, color touch and all this other
Yeah,
stuff. And
yeah.
you need a black light for it. So
And
it's like
even if you have a black light, it's not going to always pick up
right.
everything. So yeah.
Yeah,
So
and even CGC can miss some
yeah,
of these techniques. So
yeah, they can.
They're not perfect.
they're not perfect.
And-
It's funny, like some of the stores I go to, they refuse to sell any slab books, or like if you have books to sell, they're not interested in buying any slab books. And it's like, okay, that's okay. I respect that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the same way you got a criteria for your slabbing books, I got a criteria like amount wise, depending on the amount wise, and then if I get a signature on it, maybe like depending. Yeah, so that's mine. So
for keys, like you're leaving money off the table if you do not get them slabbed.
Right.
At the end of the day, when it comes to selling your collection,
it's super interesting to see a slabbed copy versus a raw copy, where the raw copy is a couple $100 less, or more than a couple. It could be $1,000 less. You know what I mean? It's like a slab copy is astronomical, and then you're like, well, they're both the same book. It's just one's not graded and one's graded. So it's like
you're just paying for that security blanket. So
yeah.
But I tell you, there's nothing more stressful than sending your books off to get graded and waiting for them to come back. Especially like, you guys remember like during COVID, like the wait time was like
trust
8
me,
months, 9 months. Yeah. Oh my God, it was horrible.
189 days for one of mine.
Oh man.
Jeez.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, I think mine took over a year.
Mine was 189, and it was the Vampy magazine. It was 112.
Magazines take forever.
No, the only reason that time it took forever was because they were changing the slab up. They were changing it from a new case,
a new holder. Okay,
new holder and everything. That's the only reason. It was 189 days. I'm like, dude, it almost took a whole calendar year almost.
Oh, it was awful. Yeah. It's amazing that considering all the trouble they've had, like that they're still like
Yeah, but because CBCS didn't fare as well either. So the CBCS had an issue too. So it's like their issues too. It's like they both got issues. So it's like it doesn't matter if either or is. And now PSA is going to get getting this mix.
CBCS didn't really have the issue of their wells getting being compromised.
Compromised.
And I mean, you're buying something. If you're buying a slab, you want to have faith that the book in there is the book that was originally graded.
Well, yeah, because this is a CBCS slab, the old slab, but this one's an old slab.
Oh,
so
tally ho!
Yeah, cool. The older, this is one of the older books that I got. So nice. This is a CBCS slab compared to a CGC one. So this would be a CGC slab. So
nice. Very
exciting.
nice.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so these were it's two different slabs. It's a thinner slab. This is a thinner slab.
Yeah, I like the thinner slabs too.
Yeah, compared to thicker slab.
The one thing I hate about these slabs is just the amount of space that they take up.
Yeah.
So it's I own about maybe 90 slabs, but that's
I lost count. I'm being honest, I lost count.
But I'm capping out there, like because just those 4 boxes take up just 100 books take up more space than like 5 or 6 short boxes. So
because the how wide the box is.
Yeah, and they're heavy. Holy cow, they're heavy.
Yeah.
So that's my limit in terms of the number of slabs that I'll own.
Wow, 90 slabs. That's quite a.
Well, the only reason I got more is because of the Vampy magazines. That's the only reason.
I got a lot of crappy slabs. I mean, I got a lot of like books. It's like, Raph, why on earth did you get that slab? Like a lot of stuff that's kind of weird, But
Yeah.
well,
we
I
all
mean, just
got a weird slap that. Well, why the hell did we slap this?
yeah,
It's like,
yeah, or stuff that just isn't really worth
right,
that much.
slapping anyway.
But I remember like when CGC first came out, and it was $15 for modern books, and if you had the dealer discount, it was $12. So
Right.
this is early
It's like
2000s, I
double.
guess.
Yeah. It's like,
Yeah,
Like early 2000s.
and the moderns had the red labels and like the
Right.
really small typeface, and yeah, so they've come a long ways. Yeah.
all right. What else you got? What else you got to show off?
So for the recommended reading, like
Ooh.
I cannot recommend Warlock enough.
Warlock. All right.
So this reprints Strange Tales from 178.
Mm-hmm.
Byron is asking if I'm going to go to any Comic Cons in 2025. I don't know. I hope. My sister lives in New York State, so
okay.
I would love to go to a convention, but we'll see. And the thing is, like, I hardly go to conventions even up here, because I'm either
You'd be
lazy or
surprised
too
how many
cheap.
community members you meet up there, though. If you do
Yeah,
end up
yeah.
going, yeah.
Which I would love to. So, and this is like a special edition, oversized, which is really good. That has a lot of like stuff. But if you can't find that or afford that, they came out like a 6-issue miniseries. This was in the 80s, but they reprinted them again like in the 90s. I did a video on like the top 100 comic runs.
Yep.
And
saw that too.
I think it was placed. It ranked at number 30, which really surprised me when
Right.
I watched that list, because I just didn't expect.
Remind the folks who put that list out.
So it was Comic Book Resources, and what they do is they ask their website users or viewers to send in a list of their top 10 runs, and there's pretty specifics. Like, it's kind of crazy how specific what classifies as a run. So you submit your 10. It's kind of like, how the Baseball Hall of Fame does their selection. It's like a ranked ballot. So you submit 10, and then your top choice gets 10 points, and then 9, 7, whatever. So the Starlands Warlock run was like number 30, I think. And it's like, well, I just wasn't expecting to see that high. Yeah. And it's like one of my favorite runs of all time. Like it'd probably be my top 10. And it still holds up pretty well. Like if you read some of Jim Starlin's other stuff, like his Captain Marvel run, it's still great, but it doesn't hold up as well as the Warlock run, from what I feel like, anyways. But yeah, like one of my favorite like Bronze Age runs, and you should definitely check that. And Otaku, like you mentioned this as one of your goals of this year.
No!
I thought I would show this.
Oh yeah.
And,
I love that book.
Oh man, it's so good. Like this is like Neil Adams, one of the best comics he's ever drawn. And like the story's kind of cheesy, whatever, 1970s, but I guess for that time period. I'm planning on doing a Superman video at some point, actually sooner than later, and talking about like 1970s Superman stuff, and this is going to be one of the highlights. But definitely should look into getting this.
That is a nice book. That looks like pretty in high. That looks to be in high grade too.
It's pretty decent, like maybe somewhere between an 8 and an 8.5. Nice. But like honestly, these things impossible to find in strict like near mint.
Yeah,
like
trust me, I know. We hunted it for our friend in Australia down here in Florida. We found a couple issues, but yeah, like you said, hard to find them in decent shape.
Like we're talking like strict near mint because
Mhm.
a lot of these just have, because they're so big, they get damaged so easily,
Yeah.
and like the corners are never sharp, and they even off the press, they're not even in
Right.
true near
Yeah.
mint.
Yeah.
So like if you can get like an 859, that's about as good as, I don't think CGC grades those as well too.
Well, they may
Do they? Do they?
eventually. They may. They may eventually.
That's a big ass.
That,
Yeah. Dude, if they're gonna end up grading, what was it, popes and all this other stuff,
oh
they're
yeah, like
getting ready to.
all this
So
other
yeah,
weird. Actually, they
they're
grade
they
movie
grade
stuff as,
art, they grade
yeah,
artwork, they grade art
That's
like
true. Yeah. No, I
yeah,
can see
those
them.
that stuff. So I won't be surprised if they
and
can
concert post. Yeah, it's
eventually.
just that it's so big. Like the case is just
Mm,
gonna like fail.
yeah,
But
Yeah.
you know what? Like I don't know what they go for like on eBay, but I don't think they're not too bad. Like in terms of the
Yeah.
screen.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard. Like you said, it's hard to find something in a high grade, but you can find mid grade stuff for like around
Yeah.
$100, which
yeah,
is
something like that. Yeah, and then I go and we go to con, like me and Byron go Brian go to cons all the time, and we see it.
it's around.
The funniest thing is,
Yeah.
like if you're looking for a book, can't find it. But then eventually, when you find it, then the next time you go to the con, you're like, dude, where the hell were all these books
Always
at
seems to be
before?
always seems to be like that.
Yeah.
Because that's what happened with the Vampire one. I ended up getting it, and then I'm like, now I see them at con. I'm like, dude, where the hell were all you guys at before I picked up the?
Have you guys noticed as well too? Like just because a lot of collectors are getting older,
Hmm.
there's stuff that you see now that I've never seen before,
Right.
or I'm sure like the internet has like
Right.
a pretty big role in it, but I somewhat follow what, or it's other channels that I watch that cover like the heritage auctions,
Yeah.
and like holy cow, I've never seen so many action ones available like in the
Right.
past few years, like
Yeah.
Yeah,
mind-boggling,
like
like these truly rare books
Yeah.
that come up for sale, and like
I got my own
did you
heritage auction
did
account
you watch that?
just to look
I
at
think it
stuff.
was like a documentary.
oh,
Um,
selling Superman,
yeah, no, that one too. But there was
yeah,
another lady whose husband passed away, and she reached out to some of the community people that were, I guess, associated with him. They were like collecting friends or whatever, to sell that collection. And he had like a Superman one. It was just ridiculous. It was raw. It was just sitting like
oh
in the,
man,
and it was just like, yeah, you just don't hear of these collections, or but they're actually with people, right? They like just people are holding on to them, and then when they pass away, they just like they come to the market, and it's like,
it just seems like a lot of these older collectors are now getting rid of their collections, or
yeah,
like sadly they're passing away, and
they're passing away.
like they're coming out, they're
Yeah,
um
and
Yeah, but
they
that
probably got list of, hey, these books are, you probably can get a decent amount for this. So here,
yeah,
the kids already know what to do with, so it's like
yeah,
they
no, but
but
that selling
you
Superman,
can imagine how
that dude
much
was a
more stuff.
hoarder of on like
oh
an
yeah,
nth degree.
it was
Yeah, yeah,
ridiculous,
It's
ridiculous.
ridiculous.
It's
yeah.
like, and
He had a
so
freaking museum in his basement.
Well,
like it's
He
we
collected
know
like sports cards too. It wasn't just comics. It was
we
like sports cards.
yeah, we know I know one, and he's in Texas, and he built his own barn.
Really?
Yeah,
the
yeah, it's
the houses comic books.
Monty.
Oh
Yeah,
man,
Monty's. Well, yeah. So, dude, what was it? And then he has a safe deposit box with the expensive books. Yeah,
yeah.
so it's like if he's pulling those out, it's like, and you'll be surprised of like what books he has. It's like, holy crap! It's like,
Yeah. But it just seems like the past few years, like I
yeah,
don't,
but like you said, the collectors are getting older. They're they're
yeah,
passing, or either they're about to, and they go, hey, I need to, at least get it set up where the kids are not gonna,
Yeah.
worry about all this all this amount of books that I collected over the years. It's like,
Yeah.
dude, you can just imagine how many, how many of these older collectors is like over thousands of books, 3,000 or
Yeah.
whatever books. Is you're like, what the hell?
And I think like for these super high end books,
Hmm.
like the market can only absorb so much of it. So like the prices, the crazy price. Well, I don't think we'll ever see those COVID prices again. Well, or not for
Yeah,
a
but
really.
right now it's more of a buyer's market
Yeah.
than a seller's market.
Yeah.
If you
But
wanting to buy something, now's the time. You know what I mean? It's like, but like you
I
said, it's not going to reach that point
yeah.
at all. Yeah,
Yeah. But I mean, like for a lot of this stuff, it's still like way out of my price range. Like
yeah,
I'm not comfortable spending a lot of money on. I would love to own like some of these like golden age comic books, but
yeah,
I'm still not comfortable spending a good chunk of change on a single book.
Yeah.
Um, so uh, I think I talked about this in one of my videos. Like um, the most I spent on a comic book in the past like 20 years is like $400. And that's
Oh,
$400 Canadian, which is like $30 US or whatever, because our dollar is
that's not a
pretty
lot at all. Yeah.
no, and like it's and I regretted buying it afterwards. Like, it was like, oh man, Raph, like why did you buy that? And it's just a cap
but
100.
we all have that guilt though. You're not
Yes,
the
the buyer's
yeah.
remorse.
We all have that guilt, man. It's
Yeah.
not, but you guys have wives to answer to. I don't have no, but that's the other problem. It's
Oh
like,
yeah, yeah,
why you
and
spend?
and like but I mean like at least so the one thing like after I got married,
Hmm.
the one thing that I was able to do to kind of you know pay the monthly bills was sell my comic book collection. So
Right, right,
I'm lucky that way in that my wife understands
right,
that some of the stuff back there has some value.
right.
So she knows that, and I think she's got enough confidence in me that I won't go crazy
Bonkers. Yeah.
on buying stuff.
Yeah.
So
I
her,
I
her
convinced my
yeah
wife of that.
yeah her bigger concern is just like when she starts seeing boxes on the floor and stuff like that start
No, when she
accumulating.
starts seeing boxes in the living room, your bedroom, and
Yeah.
then it's gonna be a problem.
Yes. Yeah. So
As
yeah, I got to
long as you
make
keep
sure
it in the
that
basement, she'll be happy.
even in the basement, she's not a fan of like stuff kicking
Yeah,
around. So,
yeah,
but yeah, I do. Yeah, this year I should make more of an effort to kind of like get rid of some stuff. I used to do shows. I used to do conventions, like even as
right,
recently as I want to say, well, pre-COVID, anyways.
right,
Um, but it was with friends, and we would set up a booth, and it's just getting rid of my stuff that I don't want. But um, I have a hard time seeing myself doing that again. Well, actually, who knows? Who knows? Um, I'm just getting old for that kind of stuff, you know. But they're fun to do, but and I don't know if I'll do a convention for a while.
Okay.
if not, you can always do this the live stream stuff too. A lot of
Or
there's
the
live
claim
claim
sales.
stuff too.
Yeah, I thought about that, but it's like you guys are lucky because
Right.
the thing with Canadian sellers is that we got to charge a lot of money for shipping, and
Yeah, that's the
so
pro.
it's
Yeah,
like for this stuff that I want to get rid of that's like $5-10, you're
right,
not gonna want to pay $12 shipping for a
Yeah.
right,
$5 book. If you buy
right,
a
right,
stack of stuff, maybe, but
right.
it
Yeah,
makes it
because
that much.
Canada, yeah, shipping to the U.S., Canada shipping to the U.S., or us shipping to you guys is pretty
Yeah,
expensive already.
it's
So it's
it's
like,
it's really expensive. So there are some different ways of shipping, but
yeah, but I don't get, like I say, I don't get it sometimes. It's like you see the shit, you're like, yeah, the book's $20, but the shipping's like full. It's
Yeah,
like
like if
you're like, "Huh?"
I think I was looking on eBay and like some American sellers, and it's like, wait, it costs $25 to ship one comic book to Canada. That's how they, and I think it's eBay that also does the calculations as well too, right?
Yeah,
And unless you specifically put like a lower amount or something.
Yeah.
right.
Um,
Well, I went to Canada to get books this summer in Vancouver.
oh, okay.
And what people don't realize is like if you're an American and you have, because it's not like you in Canada you uh, compensate for the exchange rate and when you sell books, right? A
Some people
dollar.
do,
Oh, they
but
do.
especially for high-end books.
Okay.
So I do know if you go to like some dealers will charge essentially what the exchange rate is.
Right. Right.
But uh, the problem I find with um, if you're doing this as a business, you have to understand your local market and like um, you gotta price stuff to sell.
Yeah.
There's there's no there's no point in just continually amassing books and overpricing them that nobody's gonna buy.
Yeah.
So you know um, this one kind of used bookstore that I'll frequent. They're called like BMV Books, and they have a couple locations, but the and I know one of the guys that work there, but I have a tremendous amount of respect for him just because he's able to move stuff constantly out the door because he knows what the price points are for books that will get them out the door. Because at the end of the day, they just want to move product, right?
Right.
So, and certainly for like the more expensive, rare stuff or stuff that has like like Silver Age, like Spider-Man, you can
You
always
don't
sell
understand
those.
that too much. Yeah.
Like X-Men, like you can
Yeah.
always sell X-Men,
Right.
so that kind of stuff. But your run-of-the-mill stuff,
Right.
that it may be on like Key Collector or whatever sites for like $5, but he knows that he can't sell that for $5 at his store, so he'll price it like at $2 or whatever, and it'll sell.
So, yeah.
And like if you're a dealer and understand that you can do well.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a tough business.
I would just say, I would recommend if you have American dollars and you go to Canada, again, you're going to just get that kind of exchange rate in your favor as well.
Oh yeah,
discounted books. A lot, like you said, a lot of dealers there, especially some of these shows, they've got good stuff in the dollar bins, and that's like that's like a 70-cent comic in US dollars, right?
Yeah,
So,
or even less now.
Yeah.
Like I was supposed to visit my sister over the holidays, and so I went to get some money exchanged, and it was like $1.50, man, to buy a US dollar. It was like, geez, what the hell? Like,
and you're getting the Canadian variants when you're in Canada, right? So
yeah, but the Canadian variants,
Yeah, but you see them all the time. We
you
don't.
see them all the time.
Yeah. Mark Jewelers inserts. Like I've never seen a physical Mark Jewelers insert, right? So, but not that there's much of a market for that stuff up here, but like I'm sure you guys have seen those, and and people go kind of nuts over that. I'm not sure. It's a little, weird, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, because the only time that it was sold, it was at military bases, and then a lot of people collect.
But it's like a jewel ad. I mean,
it's
in the middle.
Yeah. And like it's funny because Canadian price variants for decades were considered garbage or less. They weren't. They didn't have a premium. If anything, they had a negative association with it. But now it's like because it's I think pretty much only for keys they'll demand any kind of substantial premium.
Mm-hmm.
But the run-of-the-mill stuff. But I'll admit, if I see them in a dollar bin, I was like, okay, I'll pick up that crappy issue of Warlord because it's why I don't know, but I'll buy that issue of Warlord just because it's a stupid Canadian price
Right.
variant. So yeah, I get sucked into that stuff as well too. Yeah, man. Yeah, this hobby does weird stuff to you.
Yeah, to all of us. Trust us.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Any other books?
Well, I was gonna talk about a few things that I've been reading.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's
Yeah, go right ahead.
I don't know if you've heard of this.
Yeah,
Monstrous.
I've heard of it.
Okay.
It's beautiful artwork,
Mm-hmm.
but it's like the first time you watch Game of Thrones and you get kind of overwhelmed with all the different families and factions. This is the same. So it's almost as if you need like a spreadsheet to kind of track all the different characters and families and stuff.
Wow.
So, but that being said, the artwork is like amazing.
Who's the artist?
She's Japanese.
And it's not Peach Momoko this time.
No, but
yeah,
Peach Momoko-esque.
Yeah.
Peach Momoko is more.
Well, I like
wispy?
this artist better on this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like this one better though.
Sana Takeda. I don't know if I'm
Yeah,
pronouncing her name right.
I still remember.
I've heard
I remember trying to hunt her. Hunt the first couple of issues of Monsters down for a friend. It was, dude. Those aren't cheap either. Those are expensive.
No, but again, just a lot of stuff going on.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful artwork. Just like mesmerizing.
Yeah.
And it's like, like the line work is really something. But a lot of stuff going on. Maybe too much stuff going on. No, but pretty interesting. And it comes like highly rated and reviewed. So
I gotta get it. I'll check it out.
Yeah.
It's that one, and then Saga was the one that pulled me, and that one pulled you in.
Saga holy cow! Like Saga's a ride. And I would recommend that as well too. Like
that's the one that pulled me back. Actually, pulled me back into indies because I was when I got back to collecting, I was collecting, DC and all the superheroes, and I told my LCS guy I was getting bored. So he goes, "You might like this." Tosses it to me, tosses me as a trade. I'm like, "Oh, okay." But read it, dude. I read the first trade, went back the next week, picked up every other trade they had. I'm like, "Oh, okay."
My only complaint about it is just it's too fast.
Like,
it's just way too fast. Like this is dense. There's a lot of stuff to read here. Too dense maybe, but Saga's the opposite.
But I think because if Kayvon wrote Why the Last Man and the other ones were, if you read the other ones are a little more dense than his than that one. So that's probably why he was like maybe I should simplify it a little bit this time around or whatever it was.
Yeah.
So that's probably why he did Saga, was to simplify. Dude, he goes, my other ones were maybe a little too complicated.
He also wrote Ex Machina. I have that somewhere. That's pretty good as well too. But like I know people were complaining about the publishing schedule for Saga because he was doing other kinds of stuff and
not only that, he took a break. Yeah, him and the artist took a break for a little bit, and then finally came back, and then I mean, you can't beat it. Now you can get them digest size. That's pretty fun.
Oh, okay, yeah, I have. Yeah. And actually, you know what? I just had that would it would work, like the smaller format. Like for me,
it came out. Yeah, they go, oh yeah, Saga, and then because DC was coming out with, their little little, so the Saga ended up doing it too. So I'm like, okay.
Yeah. Like I'm getting old, so like my vision, like reading, like it's like I love this stuff. Like
Lone Wolf and Cub,
Samurai Executioner. but
But the problem is that it's smaller
it's
now,
so
and
small.
yeah, the
I
print.
get my reading glasses out to read it, which is, I'm just getting old, so I
Yeah, you
need
gotta get the large
I
print.
need the big print format
Right.
stuff, but that's all right.
Awesome. All right. Well, let's get to our spec rec flex,
Yeah,
and
Oh yeah, you guys got to show me
yeah,
your goods.
yeah, yeah. Well, Taku, you can go. You go first.
all right. Well, this is a speculation book, just because there's rumors on Marvel. They're basically going to introduce a battle between Wolverine and the Hulk, um, which is just going to be like make the internet explode, right? If when Marvel
Right.
actually announces that. But there's a lot of rumors circulating that that's the case. You'll see Hugh Jackman and probably Mark Ruffalo, you know, um, recreate some kind of battle on the big screen. So um, in that instance, I think this book is going to get a lot of attention. So I mean, it's pretty much a dollar bin book right now. But should that news come to the fore, hopefully this will be something fans will want. The really nice thing is it's Adam Kubert art. It's Peter David on the book,
Mhm.
and it's a nice story. It's like they're battling in the Savage Lands. But what's cool about it is this sick cover. I mean, this is probably
yeah.
one of the best Hulk versus Wolverine covers I've ever seen. It's just landscape and just beautiful. So, I mean, not worth a lot now, but should this kind of news, I guess, pick up? Sure.
Well, now you mentioning it is probably going to go up $5.
Well, I think it's worth it. I mean, look
I
how
think
great.
any battle issues are like that.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
There are not a lot of. You'd think there'd be
Mm-mm.
I know they've had Hulk Wolverine actual series that was there's I think a couple of the 2000s but that was like later. This is like a 90s book. Between this and 180 and 181, there aren't too many meetings between Hulk and Wolverine. So that's just something to keep in mind when you're looking for books like that.
Mine's a spec and a recommendation read too.
All right.
So
2 for 1.
Yeah, 2 for 1. So Damn Cursed Children by Howard Wong.
Nice.
So yeah. So it's a pretty cool story about these kids. Actually, all the kids are zombies, and the adults are trying to fight them off. So it's kind of interesting. Yeah.
Oh man, I love that cover, like that classic EC. Like
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
I got the whole run of it, and it's all these covers too. It's pretty much,
oh, that's awesome.
Nice.
because I actually interviewed Howard and the other gentlemen on the book, and they're big comic book nerds too. They're big comic book fans too, and he's Canadian. Howard's Canadian.
Oh
Yeah.
I just love that title. Damn the Cursed Children.
Yeah. So it's a spec and a recommendation. It's a really good read too.
Cool.
So, and then
all right,
your
Raph.
turn.
Oh, so my
he
spec,
already did it.
my spec was the adventure,
and
just
he already did all of his.
Just
He was
telling
us. It's our turn. Here, Ralph already did all of his.
Were those your books?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I did the spec was the adventure, or just Silver Age Superman, like in fine. The recommendation was the Warlock.
Okay.
Definitely read the Warlock, and the
Flex was the Neil Adams.
Yeah, Flex was the Superman versus Muhammad Ali.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. So Taku, your turn.
My rec book would be, I think, this is just a good read. I mean, and Raph, I'm interested to get your thoughts on this. So this is
Oh.
my recommendation book, The World of Smallville.
Mhm.
And the reason I recommend it is because it's really, Smallville was introduced to comic books in way back in, I think, Superboy 3. The first mention of Smallville was like in the Golden Age. It actually came rather late, in terms of Superman's origin, like no mention of where he grew up and all that. But yeah, they just kind of introduce, oh yeah, he grew up in Smallville, and they kind of formed this,
History.
narrative around
Yeah.
how he grew up and mom, pa, Kent, and the homestead and all that. But post crisis, John Byrne kind of creates a modern timeline for the character, and this is sort of the first standalone Smallville title. It's this great, origin story of Martha and how Martha and Jonathan came together. Kind of a love story origin. Really, just a good read. Simple, it's nothing terribly exciting, but it's just good, good sort of a modern narrative for Superman's modern lore building. So I just would really recommend going back and, because it's essentially what we see in movies and television today, in terms of that modern story. It wasn't always fleshed out in like the golden age, silver age, in terms of how Superman was raised. You had all these like, Lex Luthor there, and like Lana Lang and Lois in the same, like
Just a 4-issue series? Like, was it a limited
it was
series?
a 4-issue
Okay.
miniseries. Yeah,
I've never read it, but looks cool.
yeah. So I was interested to get your thoughts on why Superman isn't as popular as some of these other characters. I mean, because when you and I first got into comic books, right?
Mhm.
We're talking everything leading up to probably that Batman stage where Batman kind of was just larger than life in the comic books, and then Superman kind of took a back seat. It was like it was Superman who dominated the imagination and the sales of collectors, right?
Yeah, like if you, I don't want to spoil like some of the stuff I want to talk about in my Superman episode.
Okay, okay.
But Superman was hugely dominant, like in the '60s, like
even the '70s. If you look at even the '70s, he was
'70s. He actually really started to drop off.
Okay.
But in the '60s, there's a period of time. If you look at 8 out of the top 10 titles had either Superman or Superboy in them, which is crazy. Like, and the only two that number one was Batman, just because of the TV series that we're talking like 1966, and the other title is yeah, and the other title is Archie. But that's just how huge Superman was. Like, I think just maybe after a while, people just got tired and
tired of the Blue Boy Scout, pretty much.
Yeah, and it certainly seems like in the and he's a lot more unrelatable. You compared to like Spider-Man or even Batman, who's human, doesn't have like these superpowers. So
you think the fact that it wasn't able to, like you said, it was too kind of like people just fell out of him because the story didn't change, right? It was like even in the modern
they tried.
Yeah,
I think they really tried, like in the '70s, but in the '60s, what worked is they had all these kind of like fake stories, and they're some of them are really good. Well, I should say they're fun. They're fun to read, but you can only do so much.
Yeah, like we were talking about how stories got darker and how things were getting gritty, and Marvel was kind of ahead of the curve in that. They were kind of the precursor to that. It's like Superman didn't have any of that to offer.
No.
It's like it always stayed kind of wholesome and it's like
Yeah.
I get you're managing an IP and you want to keep it as, but they didn't make him relevant to, I think,
He
where
didn't.
audiences were going.
Perhaps he didn't grow fast enough with the audience.
Yeah.
Whereas if you have like Spider-Man or Fantastic Four, I mean Fantastic Four, they squabbled all the time, and like I think people really like their imperfections. Like Spider-Man as well too. Spider-Man's like the perfect example of that. Whereas, Superman, like you said, is like this Boy Scout. I guess he became just a bit too stiff or just not interesting.
Yeah.
Even though like in the 70s they tried some things, but there doesn't appear to be as many memorable Superman stories. To be fair, I haven't read a lot of the 70s Superman stuff. I've read some, but like if you look at this Superman versus Muhammad Ali issue, it's kind of that,
Yeah.
So it's thank God Neil Adams drew that, because otherwise you'd just be shaking your head.
Imagine otherwise, if it wasn't for Neil, I don't think it would have done as well.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I would have sold that for sure.
Yeah.
So, I'm curious how this new Superman movie is going to. I'm curious what Gunn is going to bring.
I want to ask you.
Yeah.
If we've gotten to a point where an entire generation doesn't really know Superman. Like, I mean, you see it. You see these videos where they're just like seeing Superman, like the Christopher Reeve Superman movie for the first time, right?
Yeah.
I've had conversations with like millennials who are like, "Oh yeah, I've been meaning to watch that movie. I've never seen it. I hear it's okay. Like it's like they just don't have zero clue about that.
Yeah.
Are we in for like a revival? Because
I hope so.
To them.
I hope so.
Yeah.
But I don't know what kind of Superman that we're gonna get. Like
yeah.
I think there's certainly like an appeal to bring back this kind of wholesome Superman character, but at the same time not so flat.
Right.
For a better lack of a better word. And like they're bringing crypto. That came out of nowhere, right?
Right.
And I think Supergirl is going to be it, and as well, like you saw like the cameos of like Guy Gardner, Green Lantern, which again is like, wait, like how does that kind of all weave? It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, Mr. Terrific, freaking Hawk Girl,
all
that. Yeah.
So I hope they make it kind of lighter.
Right.
But I don't know. I don't know. Like, to be fair, I haven't seen like Blue Beetle or what's the other recent one, Booster Gold. I haven't seen that. The last DC film I saw was the second Suicide Squad, and I love that. It was hilarious. It was great. Like this is like it was so much fun.
Yeah,
so much better than the first one. I thought the first one was awful, or not awful, just nothing.
Yeah, the second one was better. Yeah,
the second one was hilarious. Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm hopeful, but I don't know. DC just can't get a real toehold with their movies. They do one good one, then 4 or 5 forgettable ones, and then another good one, and then yeah.
Well, let's see what Gunn can bring to the table anyway. So
I think it's going to be good.
I hope so. I hope so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Jeff. What's your next book?
My Flex is it? Yeah, Flex is 2, because one is a Italian edition, and then the other one's the original edition. So this is the Italian edition, and this is the original.
Oh,
Where did you get that Italian edition?
Italian edition was it came from a friend from Germany
Oh, wow.
because on you
That's
because of
crazy.
YouTube because of
Cool.
YouTube and then he
Is
found
that
out I knew liked Vampy and stuff like that and
is that Hughes? Who was that?
yeah Hughes and
Nice.
then plus the other thing is when this thing was printed in the 90s it was printed with the same cover second print was printed with the same cover too.
Dang, dude.
The only way to find out if it's a second print is if
And
you
it's got
open
a
it.
Dave Stevens poster. When was this? When was this?
90 95
Get out of here!
yeah.
I want.
Oh, 92. My bad. 92. 92.
I gotta get that now.
That was the first. That was her relaunch. Harris's.
Yeah, Harris was her relaunch, and then 113. Actually, they relaunched her on 113.
113.
That
The Warren.
113. But the problem was they used the Warren format, and then Warren ended up. The main reason they got rid of, they ended up dropping her to Dynamite was because they ended up in a lawsuit with Warren.
Okay.
So they ended up in a lawsuit with Warren. So they had to sell the rights to Dynamite in 2010. So Crown of Worms is the first volume on in Dynamite's run of her. So that's pretty much, her history is a little wonky, but
that's a nice
all
book.
of it is.
I gotta say that's a nice book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very nice.
That's not the only one. What was it? I showed you one before, but the Bloodlust one was a German edition.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then because
you should do more Vampy. I feel like that's right.
Yeah, that's my niche. Oh, and I picked these up this week. Actually came from Delman. So these are special because these are actually if you look, it says pence.
Oh, they're
20
UK editions.
Yeah, UK editions. So yeah. So these are UK. So UK, yeah. So first issue and the fourth issue.
Nice.
So
is that Gonzalez?
No, this is this one I think is St. Julian or Inridge. Either one of them. But I think it's St. Julian more than anything.
Cool.
Yeah.
Creepy.
This one's Inridge. This one's Inridge. Yeah.
Flexing the Vampirella.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's my wheel, like you guys said. That's my wheelhouse.
All right.
And plus, I need to do more Vampy. Like you guys said, I need to do more Vampy videos. But like I gotta get into the mindset of how to do that and how to edit. That's my part. The editing part is my part. Yeah.
The bane of my existence.
Mine too. That's why I like doing the lives. I don't gotta edit much.
Yeah.
All right, I got one last book. This is a book I just picked up, and man, it's just I couldn't believe I got it at the price I got it.
Mm-hmm.
I paid what $67 at the end of the day for this book, but it's Neil Adams' first work on Superboy.
Oh, nice.
And it's
I don't think it's a boy, but okay. okay. From far away, that looks like
cover.
Yeah, it's a cover, and it's his first work. It's Plastino interiors, Neil Adams cover, but it's signed by both creators.
Oh man.
Yeah, so double signed for like $60, and it's like a 6.0. You know, it's a decent condition book.
Oh, that's
steal.
Right?
Yeah.
I was just like stoked to get this, and yeah, that's definitely a flex book for me. All right, so Raph, what's coming up on your show? You just mentioned you're doing a super. I got to get notified for that for sure.
So I have an episode dropping tomorrow. It's going to be about Epic Comics, the 1980s imprint line.
Mm-hmm.
I had a couple. I came about I think the one great thing is I had some viewers ask about some stuff, or if I could make a video about something like that. And this was kind of in a conversation, so I thought, oh, you know what? I'd love to do one about Epic Comics, just because it's well, just because like Dreadstar is one of my favorite comic runs of all time.
Mhm.
So, and then the one after that is going to be the Superman one, but it's
Okay.
Okay.
Superman from the 1970s, like
Oh,
specifically
okay.
the
Specific.
1970s. I'm going to touch on some other Superman stuff, but um, specifically the 1970s.
Okay.
Oh, thanks, Simple Simon. So like if what I found really works for YouTube is I have like literally like 10 scripts going on at once in my head, or I'll have notes.
That's more than mine. I got
And
this Vampy script in the head, but I still haven't put it on paper yet.
so I'll work, and I've been working on the Superman one for like months.
Nice.
And now the expectation is going to be too high.
Right, yeah.
But
Well, the Vampy one I've been working on almost since I started. So, yeah,
yeah, so
that's the only one.
yeah, I feel now is like it's at a place that I'm more happier. But what I'll do is like some things are easy. But for some of the other ones where I like to do like a bit of a deeper dive, I'll go back and forth until I get to the point that I'm happy about.
Yeah.
If there's like videos that I can just kind of like talk off the cuff, that's great. But I find I really do find I like it more when I have like a rough notes script
Yeah, I'm
to
yeah,
work
I'm the
through.
same way you are. So,
Yeah,
but off the cuff is cool, but when I want to do like something serious like Vampy or something like
yeah.
that, I want yeah,
It's
it's like
it's really
concrete.
helpful. Yeah,
Yeah,
and you know, it's if you can go back and forth on it as well too.
yeah.
I you know, I really appreciate like or respect writers who can do this, or who can like crank out this content on a regular basis, because yeah, it can be
It's not
hard.
easy.
It can
Did
be
you
It's
for
pick up
sure.
not
a
easy.
lot of the
That's
Epic
why I ended up
line
taking a break.
when it was running?
Sorry,
Did you pick
Oh,
up a lot of the Epic line?
did I? Sorry, one more time.
Did you pick up issues from the Epic line when it was running? The Epic.
Oh no, no. Oh, you from the 80s? Yes. It's funny because I think a viewer asked about, Marvel's got this new Epic line of comic books that are reprinting stuff, and they were wondering if I had seen any of those, and I haven't, but I understand they're very good. But I thought he meant like the 1980s Epic stuff, and I actually
Yeah.
have quite a bit of the 1980s Epic stuff.
Yeah.
So that's easy because it's if I could just pull stuff out of my collection and just talk
Yeah.
about it, that's a lot easier to do.
So you were collecting that when it was coming out, as it was
Yeah,
coming out.
well,
Yeah.
Dreadstar, 100%.
Yeah.
Some of the other like titles, I remember Alien Legion. I don't know if you guys remember that. I don't have any more of those left, and as well as some other
They
like
were hard to find for me, because it's like not everybody, you could find the Image stuff everywhere, but like the Epic comic stuff, that wasn't too.
yeah, and like there were kind of breaks. Like early on, there were more Epic titles, but a lot of them were just miniseries, stuff like that. But you know, I think the mid '80s is probably when they mid to later '80s. I'm just trying to think. I want to say like their peak was like Electra Assassin. Like I don't know if you remember that series.
Yeah.
Bill Sienkiewicz and
Mhm.
Frank Miller.
Mhm.
And then
That was great artwork, and the
crazy.
writing not either, but
I talk a bit about Bill Sienkiewicz's work. To me, he's like
Cool.
classic 1980s stuff. When you
Yeah.
think of like 1980s, Bill Sienkiewicz, like in
Right.
terms of artists, like I find his interior stuff can be a little, I don't know. Like New Mutants was just a bit too jarring for me, but I do love his covers now. Like,
Yeah.
like, yeah, he was different.
Yeah, in a class by himself almost.
Yeah. He's apparently he's quite an interesting person when you meet him as well too. You would hope so with his artwork,
Yeah.
the way that he does it. Yeah.
You're, we're
But
running an hour and a half.
All
We don't
right.
want to
yeah,
keep Raph
like
as much
Yeah.
anymore.
It's such a
So-
good, just nice chatting
so-
with you, and you're such a
Well,
resource.
the
for
biggest
comic
thing
books.
is, guys, if you guys really like Raph's, information and stuff, all his Instagram, his YouTube, everything's down below on both of our channels. So it's in the description down below. So if you guys want to go follow him, want to go, talk to him, whatever, everything's down below. So
Yeah.
you guys
Much
can check
appreciated,
him out.
guys.
Yeah, we're gonna have
Yeah.
another in May. We're gonna have our Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month here in the U.S. We celebrate AAPI month here. We'd love to have you back on during that period as well.
absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
Just let me know.
All right.
All right, guys. We'll check
Okay.
you guys later and see you soon.
Okay. Thank you. Have a good
You're
night, guys.
welcome. You too.